Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals. It is August 22nd, 2023, and it is 7 p.m. We have one agenda item tonight, which is BZA case 2023-10, which is an area variance for the property located at 8701 Robin Hood Circle. And this is the first meeting for that application. And we also have a discussion regarding the rules of procedure. The staff present is Susan Dorch and Paul Benson. And I will call the roll. Mr. Hanson? Here. Ms. Yu? Here. Mr. Boone? Here. Mr. Christian? Here. And Bob is absent, Mark Phillips is absent, and the chair is here. Okay, I need to read this into the record, as I do at each meeting. As is the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate. The first item that we need to do is review and approve the meeting minutes from the meeting held on July 25th, 2023. I'll give you guys a moment to look over that, and then I'll entertain a motion when you are ready. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what I don't? Hey, Susan, is that the binder that I need, or with the minutes and stuff?
Mm-mm.
No.
Did you forget?
Binder? Thank you, Paul. I just realized I didn't have it. Did I hear a motion to approve?
I
Anyone?
was letting you get the binder.
Oh,
Binder
okay.
for it?
You guys.
Go ahead.
He just has to
I
sign
just-
it by the end of the.
I'll motion to approve that.
Okay, Jared, thank you. Second by Teresa. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm going to abstain because I was only here for part of the meeting last time, and the motion carries. And it is 7:04 p.m., and I will open the hearing. Let's see, open the hearing for an area variance and read the legal notice into the record. Stephen F. Mount and Kathleen Mount requesting approval of a variance to construct an accessory building within the required 75-foot setback at 8701 Robin Hood Circle, Lot 665 in Lake of the Woods, number 3, currently zoned rural residential, that's RR, and this is BZA case 2023-10. And everyone that wishes to speak on this matter, please stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Be seated. I couldn't see Paul back there. You were
good.
exactly in front of him. Okay. Let's see. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on August 5th, 2023 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on August 8th, 2023. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. We have the following exhibits marked A through D, which include the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, application, and the staff report dated August 17th, August 17th, 2023. And then it says for August 22nd, 2023. I don't think I need that. We'll start with staff.
Thank you, Mark. So as stated in the legal notice, the address of the subject property is 8701 Robin Hood Circle. It's located in Lake of the Woods, number 3, and it's lot 665. It's a 1.39 acre parcel, and it's zoned rural residential. Lake of the Woods, number 3, was platted in June of 1959, and the roads were platted as private streets to remain so, with the exception of the initial portion of Duckins Glen, which was accepted by Delaware County as a public street recently. The rest of the streets in there are private streets. Zoning permit 127E was issued for the existing residents on the subject property on April 9th, 1962. There is also an existing accessory building located on the subject property to the west of the residence. We were not able to locate a zoning permit for that building, but it does appear on the Delaware County Auditor's GIS website for back in 1997. Staff suspects that the building is much older than that. The applicant applied for a zoning permit to demolish the existing accessory building and replace it with a new accessory building in the same location, but with a little bit different orientation on June 2nd of this year. Following some correspondence back and forth, staff did issue a zoning permit for a new building at zoning permit 2023 151. As already noted, the applicant then filed the current variance application on July 24th. So the existing building does not currently comply with the required 75-foot front setback, which is current in the current zoning resolution. So we did issue the applicant a zoning permit to replace the existing building as long as it wasn't any closer to the street right-of-way than the existing structure. And then after that was issued, then we got a variance application for that. They want to move it 4 foot closer to the road than the current building. So they're asking for variance to that minimum 75-foot front yard setback, and also to allow for a construction of an accessory building within that 75-foot front back setback. So that's section.
So it's 2 structures? No, 1 structure?
One structure.
Okay.
So, but they're, like section 606.06 says that the minimum front setback has to be 75 feet, and then section 1609.01A says that no accessory building can be constructed within that required setback. So that's why there's 2 sections listed.
So do we know the number
Know the number of what?
of how far off the street it's going to be?
I think it was 58. I think now it would be 54.
Okay. So we're at 54 now, and the code says 75. Is that correct?
Currently at 58, and the code says 75, yeah.
Currently, asking for 50.
Right. But the
So
code-
we issued a permit
Code is 75.
for it to be 58 feet from the edge of the road right-of-way. So most of the lots in like Lake of the Woods, they own to the middle of the street, but the code measures from the edge of the right-of-way, because obviously you can't, you know, even though you maybe own to the middle of the street, you know, you can't build in that area.
Okay,
So the code says that all setbacks are measured off the edge of the road right-of-way. So it's, the original permit we issued and the existing building is 58 feet. And now he's asking for
from the edge of
54.
the road.
From the edge of the
75
road
to
right-of-way.
Okay, I got it.
Not necessarily the edge of the road, the edge of the road right-of-way.
Oh, man, it would be great if I could see that. Okay.
So the new accessory building is slightly larger than the existing building. But since it was not going to be any closer to the street than the existing building, and it still met the required side setbacks and rear setbacks, so we did issue that zoning permit for the building to be the 58 feet off of the property line. And staff also wanted to note that section 2504.01, which you guys have copies of, states that no non-conforming structure can be enlarged or altered in any way to increase its non-conformity. So if a motion to grant the request is made, we would like to clarify that they're also authorizing deviation from that section 2504.01. And we sent copies of the application to police, fire, and maintenance. All responded that they had no concerns for the variance request. And we did get one phone call from a resident in the area, and once they were explained what the variance request was, they didn't have any issues.
Any questions for staff? Anyone? Paul, Jared? No? Teresa? Dave? No? All right, let's hear from the applicant, and you can go to the table or the podium, whichever you prefer.
I should just do that there. I'm Steve Brown. I think the request is pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to waste your time going over the basic request. I know you all have other things you'd rather do with your time. I thought there might be 2 points of clarification that would be helpful. The garage was built in 1972, according to the auditor's website, so it's 51 years old, and it's rotting from the ground up, which is why I want to replace it. But I think the size of the garage is important. The current garage, apparently they built them small 51 years ago, right? The current garage is about 25 feet deep, like from the doors to the back, but width is only less than 23 feet. And so I asked the contractor to build me a new garage. I said, just build a standard 2-car garage. I didn't specify dimensions. I didn't know what that was. And he came back with a garage that's 24 feet deep, slightly less, but 30 feet wide. And he did comment that my current garage seems awfully small, which rings true because when I pull my minivan into the door, you fold the mirrors in, I literally have that much on each side. And this is true. Over the years, my wife has knocked 4 mirrors off our cars. And then she stopped putting it in.
Now, don't just blame it on her.
It wasn't her fault. It was that narrow garage door. So I'm finally trying to fix that. So that's the first point of clarification. Second, you may be wondering, why did I get a permit and then come in for a variance? Because I got the permit working with Ms. Dorsch and others. And then I had the contractor came back out and said, okay, here, and we actually put spikes in the ground and put strings. He said, okay, well, that's fine, but I'm gonna have to take that big oak tree down. I said, oh, he said, you know, if I dig, because there's a big oak tree, I had a picture, I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, the pictures, yes.
Yeah, I don't know, we don't, yeah, it's kind of hard to see. It's actually much bigger than it looks in the picture. He said, I'll have to take that big oak tree down, because if I dig a foundation, you know, that close, so we're now within 3 feet of the base. He said, it's gonna kill it anyway. So I said, well, you know, if you could move it forward, how far away do I need to get to try to save that? He said, well, maybe another 4 feet away. So that was the basis for the variance request.
So you're gonna go 4 to start with, and then to go another 4, you're just trying to save the
So,
tree?
no, remember if you start where the current garage is
Mhm.
facing the street, the new garage is 7 feet wider. So that puts it within 3 feet of that oak tree, right? So if I can move the whole thing 4 feet forward, that gets me 7 feet
Oh, I
away
see.
from the oak tree. And his opinion is, okay, at that point, probably should be able to save it, so,
Have you reoriented the garage?
pardon me.
Is the garage being reoriented?
It has to be twisted slightly because
Yeah, okay.
you probably can't see in that picture, but the driveway curves in there, so when you put it out, you have to kind of twist it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. To make it all fit with the current driveway, so.
Yeah, that's what we didn't get in our staff report. is
I'm in
the
the seat that I
aerial
can't
picture.
see any from, so. Oh, so
Yeah, I don't actually see the garage on it.
Yeah, so it looks,
That
on the
right
drawing,
there.
it looks like it's kind of
Yeah, that's a little parking
That's the
space
garage
there.
right there.
Oh, this is the garage.
Yeah, there's the
That's a
garage.
part like a
Oh,
parking
yeah,
pad
so and then
there. Okay.
got it.
So when you move it out, you see that you have to sort of turn it just a little bit to make it fit.
Because of the curvature of the driveway.
Yeah, do you pull in this way?
Yeah, you come in and pull in that way.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
And I'm away from the microphone.
So that's all I had to add. Obviously, happy to answer any questions.
You're keeping the parking pad?
Pardon me?
Keeping the parking pad just past the garage
Yeah,
from
the
the street?
4 feet would go just out to that. If you give me the 4 feet, that will go just out to that, but not over it, so.
So I think his garage will be over top of that parking pad.
By the,
Yeah, the garage wouldn't go over that. The garage would go up to that.
okay, currently it doesn't
Up
touch it?
to it, not over top of it.
No.
So what size garage does fit then? Would it be,
So what he's proposing, his standard garage is 24 feet deep by 30 feet wide. That's
30
what-
wide?
30 wide, yeah. That's what he builds, and I think I better off stick with his standard product, so.
So that's what he wants to build. That's not what's currently there.
No, I realize
Than the
that.
current garage, but that's what he considers a
if it was-
standard two-car garage today.
A two-car garage is 30, although. Okay. I need a note somewhere, and of course I can't find it. 24 by 30.
What size door is he going to put on the garage?
Yeah, I didn't ask him that specifically,
Is it
but
gonna be-
obviously wider than we have now, right?
Yeah, typical is 20 feet wide, so it just 30 overall width sounds large to me.
That's,
Is
you
it
know, I
gonna be
didn't,
two separate garage doors
there's
separated?
two garage doors, right? And then,
That's
you know,
probably where
then
it
there's
is.
the other door on the side where you enter, right? So,
20 is the total width that we do our garages.
Mhm. Yeah, that's generally what I see.
Garage
too.
door 16 foot.
Mhm. So, okay.
Standard's what, like 24 by 24?
Yes.
The alternative here is cutting the tree down and keeping the garage back from the offset, right? So that's really,
Yeah.
it's not about, or shrinking your garage,
There you
which,
well, I'm not gonna shrink the
Right,
garage.
right.
You know, I've been.
and that's,
I-
I'm just trying to be realistic
I mean,
with
you
the
know,
options that
I
you're
started
actually
in
juggling.
2020 try to find a guy to replace that garage.
Right.
In 2020, they wouldn't even return my calls. I don't know why everybody was putting garages during the pandemic. They wouldn't even put me on a waiting list. So finally, 2021, I found this guy, entered a contract, summer 2021, to start this summer. So I'm scared to death about offending this guy.
So
Like,
you're in
I'll-
a contract now to build a 30
I,
by
I did a
24 garage.
contract, July 21 to build a garage. I don't know, yeah, I guess, I didn't go back and look at the contract that specified the size or not. It probably did, but, yeah, I've got a contract to build a garage, and I just, like to get it done this year. It's a long process, so.
And it's just now gonna cover some dirt between your parking slab and your current garage. Just-
Pardon me?
It's just gonna cover some dirt between your parking slab and your current garage? Just scoot more toward your parking slab then?
There'll be like, well, I got it staked out. I mean, there'll be just like a little, there's not much space there between those two, yeah.
Okay.
Because the garage is not parallel with that parking slab,
Right.
right? So on one corner, it'll be like right on that corner, then it'll slant a little bit. So there'll be like a gap there. I might ask him to put cement in there or something, I don't know.
Okay.
Put bricks in there. Haven't thought about that. So,
And do any other trees have to come down for the new garage?
pardon me?
Do you have to cut down any other trees?
I
For the-
had some trees cut down last year
Okay,
that were dead. I had all the dead trees taken down last year, which is why, I don't know how old this particular tree is, but I counted those rings last year, and they were 200 rings. And that's why I estimated this one's over 200.
okay.
I had one huge oak. It was a northern oak that's got these little oval leaves, 325 rings. This was out by the road,
Oh, wow.
which is amazing. Think about it. Before we were a country out here in Genoa Township, that little oak tree was starting. It's amazing, so.
Huh.
So any other trees are you cutting down? That was your question, right?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Are
Oh,
you
no,
cutting
no,
Right, so I
down
didn't know if we're, like,
any
receiving-
additional for the new
No,
building?
I cut down some trees last year. I'm
But
not
no
gonna cut down-
new ones for this new building?
No,
Okay, so it's not
he
like we're-
thinks he can save all of them.
Okay,
I mean, there's trees every place. That's a very tree lot. I got one out front, one out back. He thinks those are far enough away. Then this one, front, where the garage doors are and back. But this is the only one he thinks he needs a little more distance to save. I want to save all the trees, yeah.
Where's this tree located at?
Pardon me?
Where is this large tree located at?
It's right
On this
behind on the southern, yeah, right there. Right there. It would be, if that's the new garage, it'd be 3 feet from that back line.
So it'd be right in here then.
Unless you give me 4 more feet, then it'd be 7 feet away. Right there. Mhm.
I'm thinking the size of this tree, even 7 feet's not.
Is what?
I'm thinking 7 feet for the size of this tree is pretty close.
Well,
Because the
I
roots-
don't,
You're gonna be in the root line.
yeah, he's got to dig down, he told me 36 inches, because he's got to get a permit in Delaware County. But he said he thinks he can save it, so if you can get that distance, so,
Typically, you're outside of the weed
Maybe
line.
not for years.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's got big
See,
roots, I'm sure.
This is why you're here. I don't know anything about trees.
and it looks like the lot slopes down.
It starts
at that
sloping
point?
down, yeah, it starts sloping down right there. It goes down to the, ravine there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Roots would be low enough.
Well, let's talk.
I mean, that's
about that
another reason to not
discussion.
get too far back, because now you're sloping.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. If you want to, hang on a second, Mr. Mount. Members of the public that have a comment? Okay. None?
There's many of them.
Okey-doke. Then we're gonna go into discussion, but, why don't you stay there in case, usually the applicant sits, but if you don't mind standing, we'll go into discussion. If we have questions, we may come back to
Sure.
you.
Sure.
So, okay, anybody wanna? I think staff, here, I'll start since I'm here. I think, I see the dilemma. I think there's 3 important items. One is, if you move the garage, are you still gonna kill the tree? Which I don't know. I'm not an arborist. I'm far from it. Can you build a smaller garage and save the tree and not require the variance? Or do you just grant the variance? Those seem like the main issues here.
Or
So,
number 4, you take the tree down, Move the
or
garage.
take the tree down anyway. And that one, for me, I don't like, that option I like not at all.
I don't.
I would rather try and save the tree. I think it's a noble effort. If it's in fact 200 years old, which it may or may not be, I don't know. Since nobody here was here then, we don't know for sure. I would rather try and
We were
save
alive,
it than, I was just
For the
still
first-
I was in grade school.
Yeah.
So, I would rather try and save the tree than not. But it still begs the question. Well, maybe not. The style of garage probably lends itself to being 30 feet wide. Because it's gonna have two individual doors, because you're gonna have separation and then you're gonna have on the side. And I think I've said this a lot lately this year, I don't want to be on the architectural review committee for the township because there isn't one and we shouldn't have one. So I would prefer not to dictate a style of a garage to a homeowner. So I think that it then becomes either you do it or you don't. And that's kind of the way I see it. I think it's, even though there's some sub issues, I think that's what it really becomes, so.
Yeah, within reason, he's gonna build the 30-foot garage regardless and cut the tree down or don't cut the tree down. That's really the only two options. And personally, I would rather save the tree as well.
I would as well.
So, I mean, I would, if there, anybody else have a different opinion on that?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dave.
What is this right here? This brick
brick
wall, is this,
There was a brick wall when we moved in 1985, but it was falling down, so we took it down. There's no brick wall there today.
so this is all flat?
Yeah, this is an old, I assume this is an
Where there's
old
railroad-
This is what was
survey.
submitted, this is what was submitted when we issued the current zoning permit. So it should have been removed off of that. I was assuming there was a brick wall there because it
There's
says
like
there's a
railroad
brick wall
ties
there.
at ground level, because it starts to slope down there.
So my question is, if this is driveway,
Yeah.
why can't that garage go right in that spot right there?
Well, that starts to go a pretty steep slope right
Oh,
there.
is it a steep slope?
Yeah, that's why presumably the brick wall was there, and when it fell down, we put like railroad ties in. This is like back in the 80s, but then it starts to go pretty steep down there right after those railroad ties.
Yeah, I mean, without having a picture of it, I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it there or not. Yeah, you can't see the steepness there, but yeah, that goes right down to the ravine then, right?
Can you see it there?
Starting
Dave?
with those ties.
No, I can't, you can't see it, but I gotta take his word for it. that
Yeah,
there's a
I don't know where
ravine.
that picture of the oak tree might show that or not, if you want to put that.
Uh,
But it's pretty steep, yeah.
I don't think it really does.
I mean, it's like that, slope like that. It's not shallow. It's like that steep, right down
Yeah, this looks kind of.
over the hill.
You can see a little bit of a slope on the one main picture of the tree, how it starts to.
So
slope
right at
there.
the end of your driveway, right between the existing garage and the house, then it starts to slope off.
Yeah, right there where you got the arrow, it starts a pretty steep slope.
No, my next question was, if that was flat, why wouldn't you put a garage right against your house and have a attached garage right?
That
Right to
could
your
have
house.
been, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess, an option, but it didn't, but it's not flat, so,
Okay.
right.
So it's not flat between the garage and the house?
Yeah, that's flat, but starting at the end of the driveway is where the slope stops. Right, on the south end of the driveway there, that's where the slope starts.
But is this garage not outside of the flat spot right now where that garage could be turned right on that flat spot?
The current garage is on the flat spot.
Right.
When you
Isn't
extend the
this-
garage,
Isn't this flat also?
yeah, that's all flat. That's a driveway.
So you could put that garage on that flat spot and face the street?
And when you put the garage, remember this garage is wider, you start to get on the slope a little bit, but not much, right? If you go 3 feet further back, you can deal with the slope.
You see what I'm saying? Come on. So this is all flat. This is all
Oh,
flat
here,
all the way back.
this is flat,
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
So that could be turned right.
Is that a garage here? And you have an attached garage or no?
No, this is the detached garage out on the other side.
Oh, there's nothing that's attached to the house.
He asked if you have an attached garage
Oh,
on the
no.
house.
No,
You
that
have
was,
no garage
This
on
is
your
the
house.
garage.
that was made into bedroom, so 1970, you probably more than you want to know. It's 1972, when the Reeds lived there, they turned that attached garage into 2 bedrooms
Ah, got
and
it.
then built this detached garage.
Okay.
And unfortunately,
There's no attached
Funny.
there's no
garage
attached garage.
currently as it
Yeah,
is.
no, this is the only
So,
garage.
what you're saying though is take it
That's-
and put it
Yeah.
there.
So you're required to have a garage even then in zoning?
I think then they were required to have an attached to-car garage.
Yeah, well, that was 51 years ago, so I don't know what, so.
Apparently, they're
I was
not
still in high school.
required to have an attached to-car garage.
I was
This
graduating
age
high
part.
school,
Yeah,
52,
and
72, when they did all this.
Ah, me too.
Although we met the guy, so Tom and Jean Reed, so they sold this house, moved to a house on the next street. Then there was one intervening homeowner. We bought it in 1985, but then we became friends with them and knew them well, and they did other things in the house at the time. So,
Then you're
you know, they had some good ideas, but they
Mm-hmm.
didn't always implement. Like they
the woods.
forgot to put the foundation in the garage, which is why it's rotting from
Forgot?
the ground up. I mean, seriously, so.
Well, somebody called in and spoke to Joe, and they told him that it used to be house horses. So maybe it never was intended to be an official garage, I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know.
So what is the distance from the house, the corner of the house to that oak tree then?
See, I didn't measure that, but it must be about 30 feet maybe. That'd be my best guess.
So if it was 40 feet, you're looking at the same distance going the other direction as you are from the house out to the tree.
I'm sorry, what's your question?
So you're trying to put the garage 7 foot from the tree today.
Yeah, I want the back of the garage to be
If you
7
went
foot.
the other direction and that tree was 40 feet from the house, that garage would fit in the same footprint from the tree to the house, is what you're trying to achieve
Oh.
today.
Yeah, we didn't, I mean, we just really thought replace the same garage in the same place. I never really considered putting it someplace else, so that seemed the simplest thing to do, right? That's what the contract says,
So
but.
you need to Just, you have to vote on his application, so
I
what he's
understand.
approving, what he's proposing.
I'm saying though, is if you're able to put the garage with only 22 feet, you're able to put the garage in that footprint and not be in, you'll be in the 75-foot setback,
For your,
or
for your
reduce it.
Duncan versus Middlefield question, whether there's any other way to augment, is
I
that
think
what you're
that's where-
looking at?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that's where
That's
Dave's
what I'm
going.
leaning towards.
okay.
Yeah, we didn't really think, you know, this all started out, this just replaced the old garage, the same place, the same garage. That's how it all started, so. And so,
And then you ended up here.
and then I get to spend the evening with you, ladies and gentlemen, which is,
The next thing you know. Okay. Anybody else? Anything? Well, since we're kind of there, does somebody want to go through Duncan versus Middlefield? Well, okay. Then my penalty for not being here last time will be that the chair is going to go through Duncan versus Middlefield. Okay, the first issue is, okay, the board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from sections 606.06 and 1609.01.A to allow for an accessory building to encroach within a front setback in a rural residential zoning district as follows. Whether or not the property in question would or would not yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. And I would say it probably would yield a reasonable return, but if you've got a 50-year-old garage that the applicant has essentially testified that is unusable or has limited utility, I would suggest that it may or may not yield a reasonable return. Second, if the variance is substantial, did we determine
I
that?
got 28%.
28%.
Well, no, they're allowed to be 58 feet, and they're only going 4 feet. So I calculated it based on that. So 4 feet out of 58, so I came up with 7%.
Okay,
Because they're allowed, if he wasn't moving it, and it was at 58 feet, he's allowed to build it at 58 feet. He doesn't need a variance to go from 75 to 58.
so really.
It's
so-
existing non-conforming at
Right.
58 feet.
So the variance really is 4 feet,
Right.
not
Yeah, the only reason he's here is because he's going within
because
that
of the 4
58.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, when it was built in 72, it met the zoning code at that
Sure.
time, in my opinion. Ms. George gave it to me. It's curious how simplistic it was, compared to today's code, which is somewhat complicated.
And that's
The 69
Mr.
zoning
Mount's
code is
opinion.
like 5 pages or something. I mean,
okay, whether or not the essential character of the neighborhood, and I'm gonna conclude that the variance is not substantial.
Right.
Okay? Whether or not the essential character of the neighborhood would or would not be substantially altered and the adjoining properties would or would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. And I would submit that the character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered because I don't see from these pictures that you could even see it from the street, one. Two, we haven't heard from anybody that I'm aware of from any adjoining property, so there would be no detriment to them as a result of the variance. So I would answer that it would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
can I interrupt you on that, or sorry? So
Sure.
we had our homeowners meeting Sunday, this last Sunday, and this came to discussion, everybody's, good luck, no problem. The only complaint I had is a guy at Walks, Eves, he said, when you gonna get rid of that ugly garage? It's an eyesore.
Do you have a homeowners association there?
We do, yeah.
Do they need to approve?
No, it's limited to maintain the private roads only, so
Okay.
it's not a typical homeowners
Okay.
association.
Because we do run into that
Mhm.
actually here, over
Yeah.
in here. as opposed
So
to-
I've got lots of support of all the neighbors. I talked to the neighbors across the street and on this side.
Okay, then I
and,
think that supports the statement that it would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
I doubt you can even tell the difference from the street. frankly.
Whether or not the variance would or would not adversely affect delivery of governmental services, which we've had no statement that it would adversely affect governmental services, so I conclude it would not. Whether the property owner in 1985 purchased the property with the knowledge of the zoning restriction, probably not. Most of the time, we impugn that knowledge to our applicants, but in this case, since you've been there quite a while, I suspect you probably are not aware, and including the substantial changes that have been made over the years to the zoning code.
Was in effect.
But still a resident,
It
still on
was. I
inquiry
think it was
notice.
still 75
Yep,
feet.
I
From a
agree.
different spot.
But like it's changed throughout the years. so
Sure. I
We
think
give
it's-
him that because the way we measure has changed.
Right,
The requirement might have been the same, but where it's measured from has changed
Right.
over the years.
I think it's changed while I've been on the board, if I'm not mistaken.
Could have been.
Whether or not the owner's predicament can be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance, and I think we had some good discussion on that, and I think the answer is really, I think it may be able to be, but I don't have substantial evidence that convinces me that it could be. And you guys can disagree with me. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would or would not be observed, and substantial justice would or would not be done by granting the variance. And I think personally, I would say that it would be done by granting the variance, because I don't think anybody contemplated when they crafted the zoning code that we'd be requiring removal of 250-year-old trees. We're not the architectural committee. For me, if he wants to build a 30-foot wide garage with 2 individual garage doors, that's the applicant. You take him as he is. And that's my opinion. And I'm only one vote here, so. Okay, any discussion after going through Duncan versus Middlefield? No? Well, since I'm already here. Oh, go ahead.
No, so we mentioned the variance to the 2 sections. Do we need a variance
That,
for the section 2504.01?
It's in the script draft.
Yeah, I think
is?
it's in the motion for approval.
It's, oh, okay, because, yeah, it wasn't in the first paragraph.
No, you're right, it was not.
Okay,
I noticed
there it
that
is. All
too,
right.
but yeah, it's.
cool, never mind.
Okay, I'm gonna, since I went through Duncan versus Middlefield, it's been a while since I've done so it's
Yeah.
not a bad idea. I used to do it all the time. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to incorporate exhibits A through D, as well as the board's finding pertaining to the review of sections 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence, and approve the requested variance from section 606.06, 1609.01.a, and 2504.01 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA case 2023-10. Application received July 24th, 2023, to allow for an accessory building to encroach 4 feet into the front setback on property known as Lot 665 in the Lake of the Woods, number 3 subdivision, 8701 Robin Hood Circle, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, zone rural residential. Motion is based on the finding of facts pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, that such a variance modification will not be contrary to the public interest. And I think we've discussed that it doesn't change the essential character of the neighborhood. His homeowners association has agreed with removing and replacing the garage where it is. A literal enforcement of the zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship, because it will require either a smaller garage, which may or may not fit his purpose, and or perhaps removal of a large 250-year-old tree. The approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice will be done thereby, because I don't believe that the zoning resolution, again, like I said before, it was crafted to require removal of a tree. I think 4 feet is insignificant, and I don't believe there are any conditions beyond all required permits, zoning or otherwise be obtained pursuant to section 307.11 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. The approved variance shall lapse, expire, and be null and void ab initio if required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of the motion of approval, which I don't think is going to happen in this case. Extensions to this variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.11A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may amend it. So in the event that the variance is granted and you go beyond 12 months for whatever reason, your contractor finds a better deal,
we're in
whatever,
2 years already.
you can request an extension of that 12-month
We're gonna
period.
get done this fall.
The Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend this variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within section 307.11A of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended. And do I hear a second?
Second.
Ms. Hughes seconds. Discussion.
I have a, Can you clarify, though, just for the record, that, so it's 4-foot additional,
To the 58 feet, correct?
so it's not
So.
4 foot into the 75 foot, it's
No, no, no,
4
no, no.
foot.
4 feet into the 58.
Just so it's really clear.
Yes, and I.
For future,
Right, thank you
Um,
for asking that, because, yeah, it's not 4 foot into the 75, it's 4 feet into the 58.
It's 4 additional non-conforming feet.
Yeah, well, yeah, essentially that's what it is.
It's 4 foot more into the shortening it.
Yes,
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 4 foot closer to the road.
yes. And you can call it 58 or 75. Because it was non-conforming, it's 1972, it was non-conforming anyway. Are we okay, Susan?
I was just trying to figure out how many feet that is.
It was,
21 feet into the 75 feet?
From
Yes.
center line.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
now we're going
Okay.
25 feet into the,
Into the 75,
into the 75.
right? No.
Yes.
No.
4 foot more.
21.
21, he's saying 21. Okay,
20, yeah, 54.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
21.
21.
Yeah.
okay? Everybody got it? 21?
Yep.
Okay? All right. And Teresa has seconded. Any other discussion? Then let me call the roll. Mr. Boone?
I struggle with this a little bit, but since we talked about it between the 58 and the 54, even though I was discussing moving the garage and everything, I don't think it's a drastic difference in the way it's oriented. So my answer is yes.
Okay. Mr. Christian?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The variance is granted. And the hearing is adjourned at 7:40. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want to, do you want to take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and look at the rules of procedure? Or do you want to just continue? You want to go? Keep going? All right, let's go to the rules of
That wasn't
procedure.
that long.
All right, rules of procedure.
Clean markup, okay.
Okay, I actually read it, and I saw a lot of things in here that I find are necessary for zoning, but not really for us. I don't know what you guys thought, but I thought there was a lot of stuff. And I understand why it's there, and I've been to those contentious zoning meetings, and if you haven't, you ought to go sometime, because it's an education.
I usually watch them. I'll watch them
Oh,
later.
yeah,
Yeah, me too.
I usually go and sit back there.
Yeah, I'll usually watch them later after they're posted.
I find a lot of people I know in the back row for some reason. But I think a lot of that, there are things in there that are superfluous and not particularly relevant to us. Like I said,
Does.
I understand why they're there. On the first page, I found a sentence, and for the life of me, I read it and read it and read it, couldn't figure out why it was there.
Is that first page or page 3?
It would be page 3. It would be the sentence that says, that starts with, "That said, comma, for clarification, comment, the decision of whether to grant an application for a conditional use permit," and then you can read it yourself. I don't know why it's there. But I understand if necessary, hearings may be conducted as a civil trial. For me, and I apologize. I remember when we did this before. I'll just start out by apologizing. I don't write this way. I have this, the way when I have to write reports, I write, and it's not real scholarly. It's factual to the point, and a lot of run-on sentences. And I have kind of a model that I use that I have used for years, and it serves me well for that. So here, it's not as good, but I understood it, but I didn't understand why it was there.
So some of the things are probably there for
Oh,
legal
I understand.
reasons, because this, a lot of the information came from legal counsel. So it's not going to affect how you guys do your day-to-day,
Oh, no.
meeting. It's just there for
I-
clarification, legal.
Yeah, I get that too, because when you go over to page 5,
Well, don't skip to page 5, let's go to page 4.
page 4. let's
Yeah, I
see.
didn't know we had a budget.
Oh, that whole thing about budget.
You didn't
yeah,
know you had a budget?
I have not gotten
Wow.
my.
Wow.
BZA had a budget.
That's my first
Let's
question.
haul that out
First
here.
question is,
Well, I mean, yeah,
do
outside
we,
of what
do
we
we
get,
expend
but,
funds?
right.
I've been here a couple minutes, never have.
Yeah.
You
But
can though, the
we
BZA,
could.
the BZA can, and they can compel witnesses. Like you can request that somebody come to testify.
If we had to get a consultant, for example,
Yeah, but we don't expend the funds, not to interrupt you, but we don't expend the funds. It comes from the township side. doesn't
But
it?
you have the ability to request that funds be spent for specific things like was said, if you wanted a legal opinion outside of, the prosecutor's office, like we would have to pay, like maybe like a Peter Griggs type. Like we don't pay the prosecutor's office, but if you wanted an outside legal counsel, so you can request those things. The BZA has the ability to do that. And you can compel witnesses, like if you wanted somebody to come and testify, you can request that. Now, that probably wouldn't cost money, but you can ask somebody to testify.
or if you needed a consultant to testify
Right.
that they, well, I charge $300 an hour. Well, good for you, come on by. Yeah, I think I knew that. I don't know that I've ever seen it done, but it's not to say that it couldn't be or wouldn't be. So, because, for those walls and patios, I don't think we need a whole lot of testimony from consultants.
When the consideration of an attorney or something may become more important as the township grows and brings in more people, there's more opportunity for problems.
Yep, perhaps. Well, and that kind of speaks to what a lot of this is because like I said, a lot of this, when I was reading it, I noticed that a lot of it is I can see why the zoning board did this, put a lot of things in because when, for example, I think it goes back to the CBS hearings and then it morphed there into something else where this room would be full and it would be really contentious.
Yeah.
And I can remember coming to one meeting and Craig Skeel, who was the fire marshal then, and a police officer, I can't remember his name, I think he's retired now, were standing at the door counting people. Craig was counting people and the police officer was sitting here making sure there was order. And that was zoning. I don't contemplate that ever would happen here, but I suppose it could happen here. I can't imagine that we'd have that situation, but you don't know, we might. So, like I said, I know why a lot of this was here. There's some of it. Okay, let's see. Page 5, where the last full paragraph, unless otherwise invited, board members are strongly discouraged from attending meetings at Genoa Township Board of Trustees pertaining to zoning matters that have already or may in the future.
How are we gonna know what's? me in
Yeah,
the
well, I
future,
don't know
but-
what's gonna be in future, because, you know, we don't know what the cases are until literally a week before we get them. The other thing is I don't believe that anybody in this room should be prevented, because we're all residents, should be prevented from coming to a trustee meeting. I mean, I used to go to them all the time. When my wife was out of town, and they used to have food here, I came a lot.
I don't think it's saying that you cannot attend a zoning commission meeting or a board of trustee meeting.
Okay.
But if something happened to be a conflict, like they were discussing something that maybe was relevant to something you were going to hear, or, you know, maybe affected you, then there needs to be some discretion on, you know, whether you come and speak to the trustees or not. It's just like, you know, if your neighbor requests a variance, you shouldn't come to the meeting and speak out, you know, for or against it. You should remain, you know, neutral.
Oh, I agree with
and,
that.
you know, not come. I mean, it doesn't prevent your spouse or someone in your household from coming, but, you know, as an appointed board member, or you should refrain from that.
Yeah, I mean, just because we're on BZA doesn't mean we kind of give up sort of our
Yes,
rights as a
it-
citizen of Genoa Township.
It doesn't, you don't give up that
But
you're
we
a
still have to
citizen.
keep in mind that we are on this board.
Yeah, you
and
do
so-
give up a little bit.
Yeah.
You
Right.
do. I mean, you're still a citizen and you still have rights.
Well, and we still, and
Right.
take an interest in what's going on in the township in that sense.
But
Right.
like I said, there is some discretion, and, you know, you have to, like, even in, like, I always think, okay, if I know this person really, really well, should I write their zoning permit? Probably not, you know? Am I gonna be biased or anything? Probably not, because I've done it so much, it's pretty, you know, cut and dry, but I'll go, you know, someone else in the office, you know, kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
do
I
it because
understand
you,
that.
so.
Yeah, I mean,
Conflicts
I've
of
been-
interest.
I've certainly been lucky, none of my neighbors have needed to come to the BZA. They just-
Right, because we just had a quick discussion about conflict of interest last week.
Yeah, so, you know, and they're gonna come up from time to time to, you know, so. Especially if you stay on the board forever.
Set of hints. Okay, so, and then, I mean, I don't know, then go, page 6, you know, first full paragraph, no, second full paragraph. You know, I think that's kind of obvious unless you're an attorney, you shouldn't give legal advice. And I don't understand this. Such provisions shall not preclude members from discussing with applicants how to address legitimate concerns of the board or the answering of general questions, including those pertaining to zoning compliance procedures or administration. I don't know, you know, and to me, it conflicts with the sentence above where it
Mhm.
says, you know, advice that may impact the success of an application. So I'm gonna give you advice and hopefully you'll take it, but if you're not successful, then that's really the intent. I don't know, I don't understand what that means.
We can look at it, maybe
I'm certainly not
reword it
against
to make it a little
member.
clearer.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first sentence is pretty broad. Can't give legal advice to anybody.
Well, and then,
And you should not.
Well, but like you
Unless
said,
you're
if you're a lawyer, this,
Well-
I mean,
yeah, I gave up giving legal
Right.
advice. Because they tell you in law school, when you're going through law school, that you can't give legal advice.
right, I mean, does it mean to any entity who, you know, as it relates to board applications, who testifies? I mean, I assume that's, it's implied that it's in reference to BZA stuff, but
I mean, some of
the sentence does specifically say you can't give legal advice to any entity. So,
And then moving to page 11.
And you might, that's common sense or whatever, but you'd be surprised.
Oh, I know, I just had that discussion with somebody the other day.
Even, through the years here, we've had people say, certain things, and it's like, I go,
Oh, no.
luckily, we haven't been challenged a lot, so it hasn't been an issue, but you never know.
Page 11, the order of business, I find totally superfluous. I don't know why it's there.
I mean, that's kind of where we have the script, but
Right, we really just work off the script, maybe this supports the script, I don't know.
But this just quantifies everything.
Yeah,
I guess we aren't required to have the script, so if we didn't have the script,
and
But
then,
every time the script would change, if it doesn't marry up to this
Right.
would change.
right, exactly, and I don't know if that's a good thing
Well,
or
the
not.
script should be based off of your rules of procedure, not vice versa. And the script is only for your, to kind of keep you guys moving along or to, help things to be consistent.
well, that also helps with the minutes, I assume, because if we're
Correct.
following something that's
Correct.
standard, it helps when they're preparing minutes.
That is correct. But not, not every board of BZA has that. I mean, it's kind of, I think, a unique thing that we do that, so. But I think it does help, because then you have options there, and you don't have to say, oh, well, we're deviating from the norm, so how do we, it's,
I like it for taking notes. Keep me
I-
organized.
I mean, it's a good tool, because, as you're
Oh,
as
yeah,
the
I mean,
applicant is talking, if you can write down notes in there, and then when you get to Duncan versus Middlefield, it's really, really good. You don't have to go, oh, what do I say here, so maybe there's something there. Hmm?
Paul, I used to be the note taker on BZA, and then I'd hand them to whomever, and then they would go to whomever to type up, and so, yeah, I get it. Let's move to statement of policy. This is where, you guys have to be nice to me in a non-disruptive manner. I'm not sure, and there again, I totally understand where this came from. I know where it came from. I used to go to those meetings from time to time. 5 minutes per person, which I think is too long, and I know that's what zoning does, but I thought they were limited to 3, but apparently it's 5. I think if I let somebody drone on for 5 minutes on a variance, it's gonna be an unusual day, but.
I mean, though, but you have had recently
I,
that you've had to say things because, and
oh,
hopefully the acoustics are a little better, but you have, because you can't,
right,
so it's
because I
applicable.
was thinking exactly of that one incident back there. I was thinking of a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 meetings ago, where the woman, after we were gone all the way through the thing, decided that she had a comment, and I told her no. And I told her no for a reason, but then I came back to her and let her make her comment, because I didn't want anybody to believe that they can make a comment any damn time they want. And that was the whole purpose of that. And so I get the purpose of that. I don't particularly care for it. I don't particularly care for the way that it's worded. And I.
So which is that,
Would
this
be-
meeting being, you
Yeah,
want,
yeah, and where it says all attendees, including board members and staff, are expected to behave in an orderly, non-disruptive manner. And I see, I guess, I see what the point is. I understand what the point is. I don't necessarily think that that fits us, because we've never had that scenario. But if we did, I'd like to think that maybe whoever's sitting in this seat, whether it be me or Dave or anybody else, sitting in this seat would have enough control over the meeting that they could insist on decorum, because that's really what it refers to as decorum.
And some of it is order too, because like it says, we do record everything
Yes.
and we're live streaming, so sometimes when people are talking, over the other person, or,
Right.
if the audience starts talking, it's not necessarily, it may be disruptive here, but we get comments, into our office, or, admin gets comments that they can't hear the recording, they can't understand what people were saying. So I think that's part for that too, is not necessarily that people are being real disruptive. It could be something simple, just that they're talking over the other person.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, we should state that it's recorded, they may not realize it, or that it's live streamed.
Yeah, maybe when we.
I feel like including that.
Maybe when we do in the script, we should, before we even say that one little part that I need to say, maybe we should include that in the script. going
Right.
forward.
Yep, that's a good point.
Very good point, Teresa, thank you. And I guess you gotta put this in. The applicant should attend the hearing, really? We gotta tell them they should attend? I saw that and I looked at the cat and I says, really?
So,
during COVID years.
Well,
well, they still had to attend online. So the
Yeah.
applicant or their representative, right?
yes.
Okay.
But
Because
you would
we've
be
had-
surprised how many people ask that
Yeah,
question.
and like I said, I guess it's there for a reason, which astounds me, but yeah, well, I'm not gonna make a
But
comment.
is this published for the public?
Is what?
Is this published for the public, or is
Well, I
this
think
more
it's
for
public,
us?
well, it's
We do
for us,
post it.
it's for us, but it's public record.
Yeah.
So anybody that wants it, for example, Mr. Mount wanted to see the rules of procedure, he could come in and request it, could he not?
Mhm.
Any member of the public, my wife.
Well, it's
could
linked
come
on
up.
the township website, isn't it?
Probably.
I feel like I've seen it there.
Have you? I
Yeah.
haven't been on the website.
Zoning's is, because when I
it?
applied, I read theirs.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if
Didn't
this
say.
is written
Well,
for,
let's just look.
if this is written for all public to see,
Yes.
Yeah.
then it's a good thing.
Probably.
But if it's
Yeah.
for us to see, it's kind of common sense for
Right.
us to know.
Well, and
look.
it also, when you have new members, regular
it's a story-
attending,
it's a story
or
of them.
it's a good thing for them to have the rules of procedure, because you
Absolutely.
may know, oh, well, we know all this because we've sat here for years and years, but when you're a brand
Yeah,
new
well, we do.
person, it's good to have it all spelled out, and then
Okay.
they can read that, or, you can go back and, refresh your memory, or look at how we're supposed to do that. And sometimes, things get off track, and, like, you're supposed to close discussion and not have, any, further discussion. I mean, it's at your discretion if you want somebody to, be able to keep talking, but it does make for a much more orderly meeting if they, at one point in time, they don't say anything else.
I agree,
but-
because we've had times where enough's enough, where we gotta just move on, because there wasn't any new information. So, I found in a lot of these meetings, not so much here, but at zoning, that after about the third person, the comments become repetitive. There's really no new information. I shouldn't say no, there's rarely new information brought forward by any of the other persons speaking. So, one of the many reasons I did not wish to be on zoning.
Did you have a
Okay.
comment?
I would just agree and expound upon that ultimately every government document is a public document.
Mhm.
So everything should be spelled out as plainly as possible.
Yeah.
That way there can be no mistakes, and if there
I
are,
think
we can be
that-
held
I-
accountable.
I think that's a good point. And I think that along with the, what is it, the handbook from board members? I think that's another one that those together are probably what I assume you got and Bob got, probably you, Paul, when you got on. I can remember doing it. They did it we didn't really have rules of procedure until we did them the last time, what, 18, I think it was, we did them. But they sat me down in the little office with the handbook when I first got on here, so.
We give them lots of stuff now, don't we?
We just add to it every time I come in.
Yeah.
I got pictures of people's yards I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, my gosh, yes. Look, it's not a violation till we see it. Okay. All right, well, all right, taking it in that context, what do you guys, because I don't really want to drive this, well, I guess I kind of am. What do you guys really think you want to do here? Do you want to consider approving it as is? Do you want to make some revisions? I think there's a couple grammar things in there I would like to revise, but I'm afraid I have this bad habit when I used to work in an office scenario, and people would bring me, this is before I started doing the job I do now, when I was actually really a stickler, because I used to work for a stickler. They would bring me things to review that were written, and then I would spend about 2 hours making their life a living hell, and their document looked nothing like what they brought me. So you probably don't want me to mess with this a whole lot. What do you guys think?
I made some notes, a couple things that, we could look at rewording if there's other things.
Okay.
We can look at those.
Okay. Do you want to do that? I would, and I'd be really comfortable if the two attorneys were here. I would really like to hear their thoughts and their comments. So maybe do you know if we have a meeting next month?
I have not received any applications yet, but our deadline is next Tuesday.
Okay, so let's plan on,
I should get some.
okay. Well,
But maybe,
you had those two random ones that were gonna be last minute that and since we're in open forum here, I didn't mean to put an undue burden on staff by saying, yeah, let's do those.
That's fine.
Because the one guy, it seemed like there was some urgency there, and I was really amazed that that one didn't happen. And
Right.
then there was another one that seemed like there could have been, but not, I don't know, I couldn't tell on the other one.
I mean, if we thought that it was going to be a major issue, we would let you know. But as long as we have time to advertise, it's okay.
Right,
That's our
because-
big,
And that's my expectation.
it's not the processing everything, it's making sure that, because the Gazette only publishes a couple times a week now, they don't publish every day.
Go figure.
So we have to, I think it's just Wednesday and Saturday, I think. So we have to get it in so that they can get it published.
Because I don't want to put an undue burden on staff, just know that. I try and accommodate the applicants, but I don't want to put an undue burden on you guys, because
Right.
that's not fair either, because they're the ones that either didn't get the permit or waited till the last minute and said, oh, no, it's
Right.
already expired. Well, okay, this kind of goes back to the situation we had in January or February, where the guy says, well, he didn't get back to me for 120 days. Well, you know what? If you're 2 days late, that's a big difference in being 4 months late.
Right.
So a couple days,
Right.
I'm willing to agree that we can accommodate that. So, okay. So does that make sense to you? So I guess my question is if we don't have a case, do you want to come back in September and do this, or do you want to wait till the next time we have a case? What's your pleasure? You want to come back just for this?
That's fine. It's fine with me. These meetings are always on my calendar, so.
Well, yeah?
Yeah. I just want to double check if I can make the next
So
one.
if everybody read it and doesn't have any major issues?
I didn't, there's stuff in there I don't like, but putting it in the context of what if, I see why it's there.
Mhm.
I'm probably living in a little sheltered world of little Genoa Township, and I should be looking at big Genoa Township.
But if there's things that, you read and it doesn't make sense to you, then I think we should be aware of that, because sometimes, one, legalese is a little different. And when we look at it day in and day out, it may make sense to us, but if you read it and it doesn't, then we should know that so we can clarify, because we do want it to be a document that new people can read and understand, so.
I
And also,
agree.
if there's anything in there we disagree with but let go, and then we don't follow the rules of procedure, you can get in trouble.
Right.
Someone gets pissed off.
Well,
And so,
yeah, it'll be a case
I read your
of-
rules of procedure and you didn't do it this way.
Right, you didn't grant my variance and you didn't do it right according to the rules of procedure. That's what you're gonna hear. But
And I don't know that you'll be like in big trouble for that, but.
it's the old story of when I
But
was.
honestly, we have to be pretty obvious about it, like, no, we're not gonna let anyone talk today.
It's not gonna stop.
Yeah,
anyone
right.
from trying.
You know,
You're
we don't do something like that.
It's the,
It's Ohio Revised Code, you have,
it's
you get
the
some
old
leeway
story.
there.
When you get to in my occupation, when you get to the value, everybody's got a happy face. It doesn't matter what's in the report. But when you don't, then everything is subject to question. So I understand. I totally understand that. So, okay, then let's just plan on being here in September, whatever the date is. And if anything, to deal with this, and, because I'd like to, let's see, it must be 26.
26th.
I may be on vacation that week.
You're gonna be on vacation?
I may be,
Oh, you may be.
except for my wife.
Vacations are canceled for you, I'll call her and let her know. But you're good, Paul?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jerry, you're good?
you call her and tell her that.
See, in my house, it's more of a case of where are you racing this week? Okay, so, okay, then let's do that. We've got the draft of the 2024 schedule, and let's deal with that at the next meeting. Look it over, take it home. I don't see anything that looks like it should be an issue for me, but you guys, it's that December one, but I think that's early enough
In November.
in
They're
November.
a week, moved up a week for
Right.
Thanksgiving and
Right.
Christmas, just like
Yeah,
normal.
otherwise, it kind of is what it is then.
Does that also alter the submission dates?
Yes.
I mean, I guess I can just look to the left of that line.
You can
I
do that.
apologize.
Oh, you know what? You keep asking questions
You
like
see?
that, you're qualified to sit here.
And that's why we spell everything out in our paperwork.
There you go.
Because nobody reads it.
That's right.
Did you
I got so
read?
distracted by the little ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
All right.
Again, so we can process the applications and get the legal notices in and get
Yeah.
the mailings out. And I mean, there's a little bit of leeway there. I mean, there could be some
You-
discretion for somebody to vary from that, but
Probably.
we try to
There's lines
stick
in
to
there all
that.
over the place that say any comments not recognized by the chairperson should be ignored.
I started reading this, and I had to switch to this because there was so much red. I'm like, whoa, okay,
There's
hold on.
also a comment in there that the applicants will stand at the podium.
Is there
Podium you stand on, that's a lectern.
the
Lectern.
lectern podium?
Where is that?
Oh,
The applicant?
I think I did see that in there.
Page
Right, because
14.
zoning only has the,
Yeah,
they
they just,
only have
they
that.
only
They don't
have
put
the
the table.
podium, yeah.
The zoning commission?
Yeah. And so, like I said, there's a
Page
couple,
14.
I don't know, I think they have, the applicant sits at the table too.
do they?
the applicant does, you're right, but the the commenter stands at the lectern.
Well, and that's here too, I mean, the
Yeah,
public,
true.
but, when the developer comes in or something, and sometime, they have
They can stand on the
space,
table, then it'd be a podium.
they have space so that
I
they
didn't know
can
the
spread
difference,
out
Dave, thank
things.
you.
Okay.
That is interesting.
So you don't want it to say podium, you want it to say lectern?
Well, to be correct,
Or
you
say-
stand you stand up on a podium.
Or
You
say
stand behind a lectern.
Designated area, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now
I
we're
learned.
getting into the paperclip staple discussion.
Well, it's
did-
really,
I
they
did
just have
that
to
point,
stand
I
at the
did find
microphone.
some misspelled
If we
words.
decide to put the
Yeah,
microphone
there's
over
a
there,
couple
they can stand
typos
over
in
there.
All right, let's deal with this then next month, and with the anticipation, A, both the attorneys will be here, and B, that we can maybe do it once and get rid of it. Because I don't want to make this a long protracted process like I probably mentioned last time. So I don't, and I'd like to get it done sooner than later so that when March rolls around, we can go, yep, looks okay, and move on.
Both attorneys being on our side?
Yeah, Phillips and LaRose.
Are they by chance like property lawyers?
I don't know. I've known Mark Phillips for years. I couldn't tell you what kind
No
of
idea.
law he practices.
Okay.
I don't know that they're zoning attorneys.
Yeah.
Probably not likely, because I don't think there's too many out there.
I mean,
Is he divorced? Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. He's got too good an attitude. Most of those, they burn out really fast, I understand. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Oh,
moved.
come on, you guys.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, then we are adjourned at 8:23.